mastic type material, seals, does everything a hybrid does. So welcome back to One Man Out Needs Quad, and as you can see, as promised, I said I wasn't going to go back on camera at the end of the last episode until I had a haircut, and finally I got one last night, which is great because I really A, needed it, and B, we hadn't filmed anything for a week. Looking more darker than it usually does in here for the moment, and that's because we've got a very good reason why. I'm going to flip the camera around now and show you the trailer. We've made some progress. As you may have seen by the pictures on Instagram, the framing has all arrived. I don't know if you can see that in the top corner there. That's some of it. There's some also down here. As I said, the light's not as good because we've got a big tarpaulin over the roof. I'll explain why that is the case in a minute. But we have made some good progress on the trailer. So, as you've seen, we've moved it inside. The bed was already on. And we started to put the framing on. Been supplied by Aluminium Warehouse. There was a slight problem with all the cutting, but they were great. We gave them a call tail end of last week and explained the problem, that they'd cut it slightly too short, which was not great because if they cut it slightly too long, at least you can rectify that on site, but we couldn't rectify it here. So they sent out the replacement parts within literally a couple of days, which was great. In the meantime, I've cracked on with the bottom of the frame, which you can see here. This is all easy fix metalwork and the plastic easy fix parts there. You can see one there, you can see one slightly better in that corner there. So it's all from the same company, so we don't have problems with compatibility. I was going to go for some aluminium square, but I then saw this stuff, which has a lip to it, and around 2 mils worth, 2 to 3 mils worth of this area here. And that is absolutely ideal for the board that I'm going to use on this trailer to sit in, which is going to make it look a damn sight neater than just plonking it on the aluminium and riveting it through there. So that's going to be quite nice. Also going to help with waterproofing as well. So this was all cut to size for me, as I said. So once it was here and the right size, we grabbed the tape measure just to measure everything up, just to double check before we laid it down. And then we used some of this stuff. Now, I've used mastics and hybrids of sealants and glues in the past. And this CT1 stuff is by far the easiest stuff to work with. Say mastic type material, seals, glues, just everything else does, but it just does it like it should, and it dries to sort of like a rubber type property with very little flex in it. So for this project it's great, but it's done the metal work, it's done the wood stripping here, it's just everything I've thrown at it without a fuss. Dries really quick as well. It's like holds everything in place, super strong. With the aluminium, as you can see, I've used some self-drilling screws for metal and wood. So make sure you get the right ones. So that's going into a wooden base, so make sure you get the ones that drill into wood rather than drill into metal. Probably a little bit overkill, but better to have the frame held down because that's going to hold the rest of the structure on. The pine edging strips there is basically to neat everything up because there was a lot of mastic left and that was black and it looked a bit unsightly, which shouldn't be a problem because it should be all covered over if all goes well. So it's sort of a bit of insurance just in case it doesn't. And B, the next stage of this is going to be putting some resin down on the bed to act as the floor. I was going to use some OSD board or OSB, I can never quite remember which one it is, but then I priced it up and I looked at sort of how much it was going to cost, and then I sanded back the plywood here, and it came back nice and smooth and looked great. And I thought, well, the extra cost, the extra weight I'm going to be putting into the trailer, and what's it going to really achieve? So we're going to go for the plywood floor covered in resin, and I've got a bit of a surprise with the resin. I'm not going to tell you about that yet, but that's my next stage. So actually the pine around the edge acts as almost like a frame to hold that resin in, and that extra bit of insurance against the sealant. So the resin is going to have to pass through underneath the pine, which is screwed down as well, with sealant underneath it, underneath the metalwork with the sealant underneath it, in order before it starts leaking out. Basically, I'm trying to guarantee it's not. So we're going to lay down a primer coat today, leave that to dry for around 24 hours, and put the top coat of resin on top tomorrow. I will try and take some footage of that. However, it's the first time I've done something like this, so concentration is key. And that's why the tarpaulin's up, by the way. If you look over to the other stable, open plan roof, no roof boards on there. So basically the slates go to the outside elements. It's an old stable, it leaks a bit, it gets dust in there. So this is basically to keep all the dust off this surface, especially when we come to lay down the resin tomorrow. And it's got to obviously dry, it takes a little bit of time to dry. So that's the plan for that. So that's where we're at. So as I say, hopefully I'll take some more footage. I'm going to lay down a primer coat, which is just a roller apply of part of the resin. And then I will take some footage of putting the resin down tomorrow.
apart. Is it really love? Just watch me march towards the battle. I'm gonna tear down this castle. I'm gonna tear down this castle. I'm gonna tear down this castle. Watch me march. If it couldn't break your heart, is it really love? If it can't tear you apart, is it really love? If it couldn't break your heart, is it really love? If it can't tear you apart, is it really love? I criticized myself for trusting lies. I know I can't hide, 'cause then I'd be alone, stuck on the inside. The heart doesn't need a castle, it needs a bridge. Been too scared that I'd unravel. Brick by brick, I built these walls. Now I know that I'm enough. Just watch me tear them down. I'm gonna tear them down. If it couldn't break your heart, is it really love? If it can't tear you apart, is it really love? Just watch me march towards the battle. I'm gonna tear down this castle. I'm gonna tear down this castle. I'm gonna tear down this castle. Watch me march. If it couldn't break your heart.
I don't know if you've ever been in a situation like I am now, where you have an idea in mind and how it's meant to look. And then it all goes slightly pear-shaped, but the effect you end up with isn't actually too bad. What I think has happened, to be honest, is the pigment hasn't quite mixed as well as it should have done. You would have seen on the video previous to this one, this is actually the next day. And when we laid it on and tipped it out, the blue started to separate from the actual resin itself. So the blue is a dye, and what I think has happened is it's just all separated out and just done its own thing, which has actually left us with quite a pleasing effect. What I love about resin is the 3D effect it gives to the actual material underneath. It's really hard to pick up on this shot, but it's almost like having a sheet of perspex or a sheet of glass on the bed of this trailer now. There is a little bit of a wet patch there, which has started to lift slightly, which is a bit unfortunate, because other than that, it's a pretty damn good finish for a first attempt. And I would have been happy with anything, really. The idea was it was all going to be sort of a transparent blue colour. But unfortunately, as I say, it all decided to do its own thing, which is the great thing I think about resin, because it actually can create some really unique effects. There will be no other trailer floor, guarantees, like this. You can try and copy it, but you will not get the same effect with the grain and the blue. And to be honest, yes, I'm going to have to live with it, but yes, I do quite like it. Little bits of dust in there. But like I said, for what is essentially, it's a stables, we did tarpaulin the roof. I've taken all that down now to give me some better light in here to continue my work. But what is a stables, it's actually come out really, really well. Not a great deal of dust on it. It's designed to be hard wearing. It's still slowly going off. I mean, the temperatures haven't been ideal these last few days. We're in October. If you look outside there, it's quite breezy. You can probably hear the wind there. Temperatures aren't as high as I would have wanted initially for this project. But other than the bit of the area there, which has started to lift again on that shot, it's all looking sort of very, very glass-like. So very, very impressive. Even though it's not all one uniform blue colour. I think Erin approves. Do you approve, Erin? Yes, I do. So that is it for this episode of One Man and His Quad, having a go at doing a resin floor. we may give it another shot in the future. You never know. We might come up with a project which requires it. But hopefully you found the video a little bit informative, a little bit interesting to see what we've been doing here. And next time we are going to start putting the remainder of the frame together. So it's actually going to start to take shape. And like I said, we're going to do this build from the ground up. So we're actually progressing really well now even. It's like there's a noose hanging from the ceiling. It's not. I don't know what it's there for, but it's certainly not a noose. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook. Give us a like on there. Follow us on Instagram. And hit the bell and the subscribe button if you want to see more videos from one man and his quad. But until next time, it's goodbye from me and it's goodbye from Erin. Isn't it, Erin? Say bye-bye. Wave. She's waving in her head.